of precious legislative time. PhilHealth chief questions calls to privatize the state health insurer, saying the move sends the wrong signal about how government works. It is day one of Boracay and Baguio's reopening, but tourists were few and far between. Locals also fear a possible spike in infections. Cash is no longer king, at least for those who want to take the bus along EDSA. Commuters must now pay their fare via beep cards. Many are confused. And the LA Lakers were too hot for the Miami Heat as LeBron James and Anthony Davis dominated Game 1 of the NBA Finals. We begin tonight with House Speaker contender Lord Alan Velasco speaking out after yesterday's voting at the lower chamber. The palace says the president is now taking his hands off the matter but made clear he wants no delays in the passage of the 2021 budget. Ria Fernandez has the big story.
Political maneuverings and theatrics. This was how Marinduque Representative and supposedly incoming Speaker Lord Alan Velasco described the scene at the lower house Wednesday. Velasco took to Facebook to write down his sentiments, saying the time for the 2021 budget deliberations had been hostaged. He insisted that House Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano had agreed to honor the term-sharing deal meant to happen on October 14. Velasco believes Cayetano is just perpetuating his personal agenda, compromising in turn the passage of the 2021 budget. PBA Party List Representative Jericho Nograles also thinks Cayetano's move was absurd and an abuse of privileged speech. He said nowhere do House rules allow for an offer to resign.
Umalis ako dahil hindi ko talaga kaya yung absurdity of voting on a motion that has been voted upon. And more importantly, I cannot stand wasting taxpayers' time.
Makabayan bloc lawmakers distanced themselves from the issue, but said it might have something to do with the resources for the 2022 elections. But Anakalusugan Representative Mike Defensor, who sought the suspension of budget deliberations, dispelled this. What's clear, he said, is that they have to fix the Budget Department-approved spending plan, which he says will be passed on time. Deputy Speaker El Rey Villafuerte pointed out in One News the Chiefs that the majority clearly do not want Velasco as Speaker.
Even if Lord is endorsed by Malacanang and the fact that we really want to follow the agreement, paano kung majority do not want him to be Speaker? So he can be Speaker tomorrow and the next day voted out. Bottom line is Lord has to earn the respect of his peers.
Despite this, Velasco is firm that he has to take over Cayetano's post. If this would not happen by October 14, Buhay Representative Lito Atienza said the president, as the broker of the deal, has the right to be angry. Malacanang said the president has distanced himself from the internal affairs of the lower house. However, Palace spokesman Harry Roque said the president has one request.
Tingin ko tapos na naman po yung controversy, no? At talagang paulit-ulit na pakiusap ni Presidente, kinakailangan mapasa ang ating COVID-19 budget on time.
Cayetano then thanked the president on Facebook for upholding the independence of Congress and respecting its members' choice of leader. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, we are One News.
Buhay Party List Representative Lito Atienza is questioning the vote in the House that supposedly rejected the resignation of Cayetano. In an interview on Agenda, Atienza claimed that the number of legislators did not match the 194 head count of the Secretariat. And with only 111 Solons present on Wednesday, Atienza said a quorum was not even established. According to him, he was deliberately muted in the virtual conference when he tried to question the procedure.
Common sense point of view, ayaw niya bumitaw dahil meron siyang ambisyon sa politika. 2022. Sabi ko naman sir, may pagka-magician to si Speaker Cayetano. From nowhere, bigla na lang naging speaker. From nowhere, baka 2022, bantayan natin ang galaw nito.
Former Senator Bongbong Marcos will once again run for a national post in 2022. His spokesman, Attorney Vic Rodriguez, told 1PH sa Totoo Lang that this does not mean that Marcos will abandon his poll protest against Vice President Leni Robredo. He says Marcos will finish the fight regardless of the outcome. Rodriguez did not give details as to which post Marcos will pursue in 2022.
Is he seeking a national post? Yes, he is seeking. He will be seeking for a national position. But kung ano yun, siya ho ang dapat mag-announce noon. But definitely, he will be running this coming 2022.
With just a few days before the official start of classes, a group of teachers want to change the grading scheme. Is it a pass or a fail for the Education Department? Laila Pangilinan tells us.
With distance learning comes distance cheating. This is the fear of Emerson Seria, who has 2 kids enrolled at Tatala High School in Caloocan. He prefers that for now, students be graded as either pass or fail.
Para sa akin, mas maganda kung ano na lang, pass or fail na lang rather than percentage. Kasi ang pinaka-challenge kasi sa teacher yung kung paano yung assessment sa mga magulang, sa mga bata kung paano ba yung performance. So mas maganda pass or fail na lang para maiwasan din na mag-cheat.
But grade 12 student John Paul Gagalang would rather be assessed with the usual percentage system.
Mas maganda kasi yung grade, sir, kasi pinaghihirapan bawat puntos eh.
The traditional numerical grading system will still be used for this school year, but the Alliance of Concerned Teachers is proposing a pass or fail scheme, as the numerical system might result in what they call as distance cheating.
Yung grading mechanism kasi yun ang magtutulak dun eh. Kasi mapupush yung mga bata na kahit na hindi nila naintindihan yung lesson, ay dahil kailangan magkaroon sila ng numerical grade, ay gagawa ng, well, kung hindi man sila, ay minsan yung parents,
A pass or fail assessment, they said, should suffice until students can go back to face-to-face classes.
Again, yung focus ng education ngayon is para pumaitawid yung ating yung pangangailangan ng ating kabataang Pilipino para mag-survive sa ilalim ng pandemya. No? Hindi pa po yung markahan natin yung bawat ulo ng mga bata ng first honor, second honor, third honor.
The Education Department assures everyone that distance cheating won't happen as long as students practice honesty. The department also said that the periodical exams will be replaced with performance tasks and written outputs as basis for their grades. Meanwhile, with just a few days left before classes open, ACT reported that teachers are still having problems with connectivity and the printing of student modules. ACT is appealing to DepEd that teachers' internet allowance be increased. DepEd said that they will not give up until every issue is resolved. DepEd told ACT and other groups to stop brainwashing and abusing the weaknesses of teachers that might lead to defiance. For News 5, Laila Pangilinan, we are One News.
We'll go for a quick break. When the big story returns, it was a slow start for Boracay's reopening with just around 20 guests arriving at the island. And PhilHealth's chief opposes calls to privatize the state insurer over fears that members could lose coverage. The details next. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay. Local tourists can finally walk on real white sand and relax as Boracay reopens after almost half a year. Jenny Dongon reports to us from Boracay to tell us what happened on the first day of the Island Paradise reopening.
Robbie, tourists can finally feel the world-famous white sands of Boracay touching their toes. However, the reopening of the Island Paradise only saw around 25 visitors.
Boracay has finally opened its doors to tourists from all over the country after almost 6 months of closure due to the COVID-19 pandemic. To kick off today's reopening, Boracay DNR Task Force Lawin held a cleanup drive along the world-famous Boracay shoreline. Locals couldn't hide their excitement, especially with the return of their livelihood. However, many of them are still worried about contracting the coronavirus disease.
Sana di muna. Di muna? Oo, kasi marami pa rin kasi. Kahit dito sa Aklan, marami pa rin eh. Ah, ganun? Oo. Lalo yung ibang lugar pa yung papasok dito. Nakakatakot pa rin.
The Tourism Department said the reopening of the famous destination aims to help revive the island's economy. A total of 25 guests visited the island today. 7 of them came from Metro Manila. Boracay officials admitted that among the factors affecting tourist arrival is the RT-PCR test requirement.
So we felt that it should be done because we're just slowly opening up the tourism market in Boracay. We do not want an immediate influx of tourists wherein we will not be able to control or to be able to answer if.
For their part, hotel owners promised to offer discounts of up to 75% to somehow make up for their customers' swab test expenses. With this, Tourism Secretary Bernard Romulo Puyat hopes that the ongoing pilot use of antigen tests in Baguio City will be successful.
Learning from it, we're hoping yung antigen pilot testing natin in Baguio will be successful para it will become cheaper to travel, and the results will be faster kasi at least 15 minutes lalabas.
To date, Boracay has 0 confirmed coronavirus cases. The government vows to strictly enforce safety protocols to maintain this.
Robbie, the Tourism Department is expecting the number of visitors to increase as weeks go by. They are expecting an influx of visitors come on Undas or early November. Robbie.
Maraming salamat, Jenny Dongon, reporting from Boracay. And with Boracay restarting its tourism, airlines have begun mounting flights to and from Caticlan and Calibo. Cebu Pacific Air has round-trip flights from Manila to Caticlan on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Well, starting Saturday, CEPAC will also have thrice-a-week flights for the Manila-Calibo route on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. Philippine Airlines Caticlan flights will begin on October 4, scheduled every Friday and Sunday. Flights to Calibo operate on Fridays and Sundays. AirAsia's Caticlan flights are on Wednesdays and Fridays. That all starts tomorrow. Calibo flights are scheduled for Tuesdays and Thursdays. Several cemeteries have started releasing their schedules for visits and other protocols this Undas season. Pasay residents must follow a schedule depending on their district. Those from another city are only allowed on Sundays. Meanwhile, in Parañaque, Parañaque is limiting visits per mausoleum and lots. Visitors are only allowed to stay for a maximum of 30 minutes. In Cavite, Governor John de Remulla said cemeteries will be open starting today until October 27, only from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And these are the other big stories today. Justice Undersecretary and spokesperson Mark Perete has resigned from his post. In a text message, Perete confirmed his decision, but he declined to provide more detail about his very personal reasons. Perete only said that continuing with his job would be a disservice at this time. The Trade Department is looking to allow 24/7 operations for restaurants and food establishments, even in areas under GCQ. In an interview with Agenda, Trade Secretary Mon Lopez said LGUs will be given the discretion to determine which establishments can open and at what capacity. Lopez said restaurants will be allowed to accommodate 50 to 100% capacity depending on its location. The alleged suspect behind the shooting inside the Philippine Military Academy in Baguio City has died. PMA spokesperson Cheryl Tindog confirmed that Airman Second Class Christopher Lim passed away Wednesday at noon due to self-inflicted gunshot wounds. Lim allegedly shot 2 cadets in a barracks earlier this week. One of them, identified as Staff Sergeant Geoffrey Turqueza, died on the spot. No less than the new PhilHealth chief is opposing the proposal to privatize the corruption-ridden agency. His reasons in this report by Marian Enriquez.
In a House hearing with the Justice Department, newly installed PhilHealth Chief Dante Gueran warned about the plan to privatize the agency. He said the move will send a wrong signal to the public that the government cannot be trusted.
Are we telling the people of the Philippines and the world that ang mga tao lang sa pribado ang marunong magtrabaho ng tama? Hindi marunong ang taga-gobyerno katulad natin? Wow!
Gueran also said privatizing PhilHealth may adversely affect its members.
Pag i-privatize natin ito, saan pupunta itong mga miyembro natin? Na meron tayo sa PhilHealth, meron tayo tinatawag na outright membership. Kahit hindi ka pa miyembro, pag pumunta ka sa hospital, miyembro ka kaagad. And then outright eligibility. Saan natin kukunin ito pag i-privatize natin ito?
But Marikina Representative Stella Kimbo, who filed a bill authorizing President Duterte to privatize or reorganize PhilHealth, said the poor will not lose healthcare coverage.
Hindi ibig sabihin po niyan that if for example the President directs the privatization of PhilHealth, it doesn't mean that government is precluded from subsidizing the premiums of our indigent households.
President Duterte on Monday threatened to abolish the state insurer rather than privatizing it due to budget issues. But if the DOJ were to be asked, genuine reforms within the corporation-ridden agency would suffice.
I don't think we went as far as say that, or we would not have gone as far as say na hindi na natin kailangan ng PhilHealth, hindi na natin kailangan, no. Hindi naman ho ganun. Maybe just reforms lang. Baka ho kasi doon na nakita niya sa report kung ano ho yung mga kung ano yung mga nangyayari sa loob.
Meanwhile, some lawmakers urge the DOJ to look into the role played by Health Chief Francisco Duque III in the alleged corruption. Cavite Representative Boying Remulla noted that Duque is one of the longest tenured officials in PhilHealth.
How can you be the chairman of the board and say you're not responsible for anything? That is not the behavior of a responsible person.
For Surigao del Norte Representative Ace Barbers, Duque should have done more to address the irregularities.
This clearly is an evasion of responsibility of being the chairman of the board.
In response, Justice Undersecretary Adrian Sugay said they will study how PhilHealth was managed over the years. The agency will also determine those PhilHealth officials who were remiss with their tasks.
We need to look into it further. Did they exercise yung oversight function properly, no? As the board, no? Not just as policy setting.
Other congressmen called on the DOJ to file complaints against the members of the private sector that colluded in the corruption scam. Ang magsasaka Representative Argel Cabatbat stressed that a certain doctor named Dennis Menguita should be probed for allegedly getting some dirty money worth 267 million pesos. The DOJ is eyeing to finish its investigation into the controversial interim disbursement mechanism this week. For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
Let's pause for a quick break. When we come back, a bus ride along EDSA will now require the use of a beep card to the dismay of some confused passengers. And the LeBron-led LA Lakers clinches Game 1 of the NBA Finals. The Heat, apart from suffering a loss, suffered a string of injuries. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay. The city of Pines, which has been lauded for its COVID-19 response, is once again opening its doors to tourists. Romel Lopez is in Baguio City to give us the latest. Romel, kamusta dyan?
Yes, Robbie, it's day one of Baguio City's reopening under the new normal scheme, but some residents are having reservations due to the fear of COVID-19 transmission. But the LGU and the enforcement agency assures everyone that the minimum health standards will be observed in the tourism bubble. Tourists from Region 1 have been allowed to visit Baguio City, provided that they sign up at the city's Visita web portal. But since it's the first day, locals are the first ones to get reintroduced to the new whole Baguio experience. Some residents have engaged in various activities like Zumba sessions and riding boats at the famous Burnham Park.
Para sa akin hindi kasi sobrang strict ang mga controls nila. Tapos you have to learn to live with the virus, you know. You cannot live in fear forever, you know. Business has to proceed. People have to pay their bills.
The owner of these bikes for rent is also excited for the expected influx of domestic tourists.
Masaya na kasi for 6 months sir, nasarado kami. Nung September 1 lang kami pinayagan ni Mayor na magbukas. At least sir, kahit pa paano, nakikita rin ng mga turista na nagbukas na rin ang park ng Baguio at saka yung mga ibang park pa rin po. Nagbukas na rin po. Kaya at least kahit pa paano nakakainganyo na rin ng mga turista sir.
The Wright Park, meanwhile, still looks like a ghost town with only few horses and their caretakers seen in the area.
Medyo malungkot sir kasi wala naming hanap buhay sir. Ito naman para kahit pa paano makakikita kung sakaling may mga turista.
Food stores and other establishments have also opened along the Session Road. Owners make sure that their customers practice minimum health standards. Some residents, however, are apprehensive about the reopening of the city due to the possible spike in COVID-19 cases.
Kami lang po na residente dito sa Baguio, natatakot din po kami na ibalik ang turismo dito sa Baguio. Kaya lang po medyo nanganganib na rin po ang turismo dito sa Baguio, kaya binuksan ni Mayor Magalong ang turismo.
Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong appealed to his constituents to trust the LGU.
Maliit kasi 200 lang 200 lang yung dadagdagan namin. As I've said, kaya nga surely, safely, slowly, responsibly, yun nga yung aming keywords just to assure the citizen na hindi naman tayo magbubukas ng parang, open na kami lahat, punta na kayo lahat dito. Pag may nagkasakit, yan, dyan, marami tayong, wala, hindi naman ganun Kaya nga, ang opening natin is calibrated, gradual, so that, it's part of our learning curve. And then, let us see if we'll be able to manage it. Kung nagkakaroon tayo ng kaso, do we have enough facilities to accommodate them? Titingnan natin lahat.
The Baguio City Police, for their part, assured the locals that the minimum health standards will be strictly enforced. This include proper usage of face masks and shields in the public places at all times.
Protection kasi is not only for yung ating mga kababayan dito. Mutual naman po ang ginagawa natin. Protection para sa ating mga residente as well as yung mga tourists natin. We also do not want na pagpunta po nila dito naman sila mahahawa.
Robbie, according to Mayor Magalong, the first batch of tourists from outside the city is expected to arrive on October 11. He also disclosed that they have only received 489 applications so far. The low turnout, he said, is due to the public transportation that is unavailable at the moment. Robbie.
Maraming salamat, Romel Lopez, reporting from Baguio City. Commuting in Metro Manila is starting to go cashless as authorities now require beep cards to lessen the spread of COVID-19. But commuters are less than happy with the new development. Gerard De La Peña tells us why.
It's the first day of the implementation of the exclusive use of beep cards on the EDSA busway. But some commuters were left confused. RV, who only had 200 pesos in his pocket, shelled out 180 pesos for a new beep card. On his commute home, the driver did not allow him to board. as his card only had 64 pesos left, lower than the maintaining balance of 70 pesos. With just 20 pesos on hand, RV decided to walk instead from Monumento to Cubao.
Oh, yun ang nireklamo ko, sir. Dapat hindi na sila nagaganito. Paano naman yung mga walang pera?
Axel's load, on the other hand, was wiped out after just a single short trip using his newly purchased card. He also felt short change for the 5 peso fee to reload.
Parang mangi-scam lang sila, sir eh.
AF Payments manufactures the beep cards. They said that they don't earn a single cent from the cards. It was sold for 150 pesos last month on a promo. It sells for 100 pesos in MRT and LRT stations, 20 for the card and 80 for the load due to government subsidy. The 5 peso convenience fee goes to third-party service providers and not to AF Payments.
So we practically give it profit-free. So whatever the passengers are paying for, yun din po ang charge na sa amin ng card manufacturer to produce the card. And hindi lang po siya card that you can compare with any other card. Kasi yung chip po na nakalagay dyan, meron din pong cost yan. Kaya po siya umaabot sa 80 pesos.
The company said the 70 peso maintaining balance ensures sufficient funds for a maximum fare going to the farthest stop. A passenger is charged a maximum fare of 70 pesos if he or she is unable to tap out before getting off the bus. The Transportation Department spoke with AF Payments for the possibility of releasing single journey tickets for infrequent travelers. They are also in talks for a possible complete waiver of card costs.
Hindi kailangan may bayad yung top-up cards natin. So ito po, tinitingnan din natin yung mga anggulo kung saan pwede hong magkaroon ng posibilidad kung pwedeng ma-credit back sa ating mga mananakay yung kanilang nagastos dati.
However, AF Payments said it is impossible to refund commuters for the amount spent for the cards. They instead laid out a program to at least lessen the card's cost. For now, transportation officials said the program will continue with the end goal of minimizing the risk of spreading COVID-19. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, We Are One News.
Starting Monday, that's this coming Monday, veteran broadcaster Ted Filon and radio personality DJ Chacha will wake you up with their brand new show in their brand new home. In a media conference earlier, Filon promised that their show, Ted Filon and DJ Chacha sa Radio 5, will be an upgraded version of their former show. Besides bringing fresh news and music, the tandem announced cash prizes will be up for grabs for lucky listeners. Catch their show on weekdays starting October 5 from 6 to 10 a.m. on 92.3 News FM. It will also be shown on TV5 and Signal Channel 1 from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. The Los Angeles Lakers drew first blood against the Miami Heat 116-98 in Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Anthony Davis gave out an explosive performance for the Lakers in his first Finals appearance, scoring a game-high 34 points and 9 rebounds. LeBron James chipped in a double-double outcome of 25 points, 13 boards, and 9 assists. It might be an uphill climb for the Heat from here on as 3 key players, Goran Dragic, Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler all suffered injuries during the game. You can catch Game 2 of the NBA Finals live on Saturday at 9 a.m. on TV5 and on delayed telecast on One Sports at 11 a.m. U.S. presidential debate organizers vowed to change the rules for a more orderly showdown. This after the face-off between U.S. President Donald Trump and his rival Joe Biden descended into insults. While Reuters reports that no final decisions have been made, organizers are allegedly considering cutting off a candidate's mic should rules be violated. Biden supports the idea of making changes in the format. Trump tweeted that he would rather get a new anchor and a smarter Democratic candidate. And that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250. Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. I'm Robbie Alampay. We are One News. Good evening.